Guys, we have a breaking news story coming out of the key swing state of Georgia. This article reads, non-credible bomb threats against Atlanta area polling places were from Russia, Secretary of State says. And Brad Raffensperger just can't get a break because the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, had to give a speech explaining that Russia called in bomb threats to polling stations in Atlanta, a blue area, to try to impede the voting in Georgia, and it's an attack on our infrastructure in every single way. In this video, I want to highlight how this stuff is emboldened by Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I want to highlight how Russia has tried to repeatedly attack our election infrastructures, the trust in our institutions, the trust in our elections, and how all of this could play out tonight with Donald Trump and Elon Musk together in Mar-a-Lago. But first, Donald Trump spoke earlier while he was voting, and he essentially enabled this type of stuff to happen. This article reads, Trump dismisses potential for violence as polling places are hit with bomb threats. Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says the threats on Fulton County places are, quote, non-credible, but the polling places were threatened by Russia. And that's why they're non-credible, because the threats are coming from Russia. This reads, after 4 years of interminable rallies, 34 felonies, 1 last-minute candidate switch, 2 assassination attempts, and several months of crippling anxiety, the national fever dream of the 2024 campaign season has reached its end. Voters across the nation are lining up at their polling places on Tuesday after more than 78 million Americans cast their ballots early, a significant decrease from the pandemic-era flood of mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, but the candidates aren't sitting quietly. Quote, it won't even be close, Trump said of the race, but it's going to take a long time to certify. It looks like we have a very substantial lead, he added with absolutely zero evidence. It looks like we have many more Republicans voting today than Democrats. All of this data is very, very fuzzy, and even that fuzzy data doesn't support what he's saying. Take a listen to this clip of Donald Trump today while he was voting, talking about violence.
I don't have to tell them that. I don't have to tell them that there'll be no violence. Of course there'll be no violence. My supporters are not violent people.
I beg to differ, because your biggest supporter, Vladimir Putin, literally had his cronies call in a bomb threat, and poor Brad Raffensperger had to fend it off. If you didn't know, Brad Raffensperger is the dude that Trump called in 2020, the Georgia Secretary of State, and tried to pressure him into finding votes. Find me 11,780 votes. It's one more than we need. Trump went on a manic spree and called election officials all across the country, but the 1-hour phone call with Brad Raffensperger that was released to the public during the January 6th investigations is some damning stuff. Donald Trump straight up bullied this lifelong Republican and said, find me the votes, find me the votes. You'll be a hero if you do, you'll regret it if you don't. Just mob boss tactics. And when Donald Trump said, there are 20,000, 30,000 dead voters in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger said, we found 2 to 3. We found 2 or 3 dead voters. And here is Brad Raffensperger today, looking into the camera like Jim from The Office, like here we are again. This is some serious stuff, because Russia is not only attacking our infrastructure, but they are waging an online war across all social media right now to sow division, fear, distrust, and to lay the groundwork for Donald Trump's attempted coup tonight. By attempted coup, I mean he's going to declare victory early.
Threats at polling places that we've heard about, the one bomb threat. Have you heard any other verifiable threats at any polling places?
We've heard some threats that were of Russian origin, and so I don't know how to describe if that's viable. We don't think they are, but in the interest of public safety, you always check that out, and we'll just continue to be very responsive when we hear about stuff like that. We identified the source, and it was from Russia.
Can you elaborate on that? What kind of threats?
As he said, is a bomb threat.
So,
yeah.
Russia, and you're confident of the Russians that did?
Yeah, just like we had the DDoS attack on Monday, October 14th, 420,000, pings, denial of service from Russians. So we added that interface that said, I am a human, I'm not a robot. So they're up to no mischief, it seems, and they don't want us to have a smooth, fair, and accurate election, and everything they can get us to fight among ourselves, they can count that as a victory. So that tells you a little bit about the Russians. They're not our friends.
They are not our friends, and Brad Raffensperger is a true Republican, a true patriot. Not only did he stand up for our country when Donald Trump was trying to pressure him, but he understands that Russia is trying to meddle in our elections. Listen to how he says it perfectly here.
Have a smooth, fair, and accurate election.
They want to make sure we don't have a smooth, fair, and accurate election. They want to sow division amongst Americans. They've been trying to do this for months by spreading racism, spreading misogyny, spreading anti-Semitism and Islamophobia at the same time in an attempt to pit sects of the American population against each other, and that's what they're trying to do today. On top of that, by targeting a super blue area, Atlanta, Georgia, incredibly blue, and by delaying the voting by even 20 minutes, you could cost a few hundred votes. But it backfired because they are now trying to extend the voting time in Georgia. I'll explain that in 1 second, but let's finish this.
Fair and accurate election, and anything that can get us to fight among ourselves, they can count that as a victory. So that tells you a little bit about the Russians. They're not our friends. Anyone that thinks they are hasn't been reading the newspapers. Thank you so much.
He is just calling out Donald Trump there. You know that he hates Donald Trump and the MAGA wing of the Republican Party in particular, even though he is a Republican himself. But he makes a really good point when he says that Vladimir Putin wants us to fight amongst ourselves. Donald Trump achieves that end goal for Putin. He's doing the bidding of Putin and Xi Jinping and everybody in Iran when Donald Trump is dividing our country intentionally with these election fraud lies. When Donald Trump refuses to condemn threats of violence, when Donald Trump refuses to tell his supporters off, his biggest supporter being Vladimir Putin, then yes, it divides the country further. This article reads, several non-credible bomb threats that briefly disrupted voting at 2 Georgia polling places originated from Russia. And you can read it right here. They actually disrupted voting. Quote, we've heard some threats that were of Russian origin. I don't know how to describe that's viable. We don't think they are, but in the interest of public safety, we always check it out, said Raffensperger. Now, Raffensperger, a Republican, did not elaborate on how exactly state officials determined the bomb threats came from Russia, but I trust that they did. The non-credible threats caused the temporary closure of polling places, but now, This is how hard it backfired on Big Putin. The county is seeking to extend voting hours due to the disturbance, according to Nadine Williams. The county is now trying to extend the voting hours, which could actually benefit us due to Vladimir Putin's little trick. Election integrity and protecting our community is our highest priority, and the FBI is working closely with the state and local law enforcement partners to respond to election threats and protect our communities as Americans exercise their right to vote. I want to show you the Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner going off. This is so good.
I want people to be reassured that when they get up tomorrow to go vote, if they have not voted already, that everybody in the city is working and has been working for months to make sure that there will be nothing tough about that experience and nothing to fear in that experience. But I also want to be clear, anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out. Anybody who thinks it's time to insult, to deride, to mistreat, to threaten people, F around and find out. We do have the cuffs, we do have the jail cells, we do have the Philly juries, and we have the state prisons. So if you're going to try to turn an election into some form of coercion, if you're going to try to bully people, bully votes or voters, you're going to try to erase votes, you're going to try any of that nonsense, we're not playing. F around and find out.
I love this guy, a true warrior for democracy. I would also put Brad Raffensperger in the same boat, a true warrior for democracy. There are many Republicans that still appreciate democracy, and Elon Musk not being one of them. So I want to paint a broad picture for you in a second, then we can zoom in. But tonight, while the election results are coming in, Elon Musk and Donald Trump will be together at Mar-a-Lago. That means two things. That means Donald Trump has the ear of the man who owns the largest social media platform where all of the communications will be going on for campaigns. That also means that Elon Musk has the ear of the man who is guiding the MAGA fan base. Together, they could cause chaos, they could cause destruction, and they could divide the American people. To bring it back, they are doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin when they come together and when they declare victory early and try to sow fear, distrust, try to spread disinformation. And honestly, this might be controversial, but I would almost say that Elon Musk and Donald Trump's information attacks are even worse than these fake bomb threats coming from Russia. I mean, yes, of course, if there was actually a bomb, that would be much worse, but these attacks on our infrastructure, these fake attacks, they go away fast once they're debunked. When Elon Musk and Donald Trump tell lies tonight, those lies are going to stick for decades, and I'll leave you with that. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the live stream, and peace out.